We back, party people, with another spiritual, philosophical, knowledge bomb reflection on the Daily Vedantic. And this is, none of this stuff comes from me. I am just playing the hits. I always say I'm a philosophical cover DJ. Just playing the hits from others. And one of the concepts that has really floored me recently that I've been reflecting on is, it is related it's actually before the Bhagavad Gita, the world's most famous poem. I talk about it all the time. It's one of the anchor texts of the Vedantic tradition. And you don't need to know anything about this poem, although it is a 30-minute read, 700-verse poem. And it's a dialogue between this famous warrior prince and his charioteer. Beautiful. Right before the biggest battle of a 13-year civil war, right before the big battle, and the warrior prince is having an epic meltdown for the war and the battle that he has been preparing for 13 years. The battle that he could have exited, off-ramped from, but was like, no, this needs to happen. And then, like all of us, our mouths write checks, our emotions, our bodies, our intellects feel like we can't cash, and then we're like, holy shit, what did I do? And we have our own epic meltdowns. But within this story, the Gita is part of a larger epic within the Indian philosophical tradition called the Mahabharata. And there's two major epics from India, the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. Similar to like Greek epics, the Iliad and the Odyssey. It's two that have not only great storytelling within them, but also philosophy. Similarly, within India, within the East, you have great storytelling, like fantastical storytelling. I mean that not just like fantastic, but also just the characters it is like Marvel characters with all of these supernatural powers and things like that, but delivered like Marvel characters for entertainment and conveying philosophy, virtue. Conveying the higher, wrapped in fantastical stories. The Ramayana is more fantastical than it's almost like the Marvel universe. This is so unnecessary, but the Marvel universe would be like the Ramayana, where people have a bunch of special powers, and you have something more like Batman and Gotham, and everything's kind of real, and the bad guys are more or less they aren't supernatural. That's more of the Mahabharata, where there's a lot less supernatural stuff happening. It is all philosophical and symbolic. And these two epics are drenched in insanely deep symbolism, an aspect of which I keep thinking about, which is in the Mahabharata, leading up to this huge civil war and this big battle, it all got started by the oldest brother. That warrior prince in the Gita, his name's Arjuna, and his oldest brother, Yudhishthira. You have the Gita where the warrior prince, and that is Arjuna. Well, his older brother, who doesn't make an appearance in the actual Gita, but his older brother in the larger story of the Mahabharata, his older brother Yudhishthira, is not only the oldest of these virtuous brothers on the side of good, fighting for good, and the rightful heirs to this kingdom, but he also is the only of the virtuous brothers that makes it to enlightenment, to realization. But he's also the cause for the war. You see, he's staying over at, let's just call it for simplicity's sake, the bad side, the unrighteous cousins of theirs. He's staying over at their palace before the war has started, before this contention over the kingdom has started. And he is tempted into a game of dice by a character that is known to be a master of deceit. Tempted into a game of dice, into gambling. And this is so symbolic because he's tempted into this tiny little game of dice. What's the big deal? Game of dice. Where, once he says yes, the gamble is, if he loses, he has to give up the kingdom for 13 years. It's not, you lose $100, In a friendly gambling game with a cousin, it's you're going to lose your kingdom, the entire kingdom for 13 years. And then the side of the bad, the unrighteous side, those cousins, they don't give it back. So that's why the war starts. But it all starts with this brother, this wise brother, really wise. Again, like I said, he's the only one that makes it to enlightenment at the end of the story. But it begins with this catastrophic mistake in a seemingly innocuous circumstance of a game of dice. All of this death, this entire war, 13 years of both sides of their lives, all tragically unfolding based on him accepting a simple game of dice. Him gambling in the midst of what should have been steady wisdom, his wits about him, even while staying at his cousin's palace, perhaps staying with cousins and being in the midst of someone that is a master of deceit is when you really should keep your wits about you. But in that moment, he lost his. This symbolically points to the fact that, and Shakespearean plays are filled with this, no matter how wise we think we are, all it takes is one moment to where there is catastrophic damage done because of one missed opportunity, one mistake made, one gamble that goes awry. You can have it all and propped up as someone that doesn't make mistakes. And through that egoism, through that lost, you can have it all and even be propped up as someone that has superior wisdom and still lose it all through a momentary lack of vision, a momentary lack of clarity. You see, symbolically, the war doesn't start by some random act of aggression from an enemy, where it's just so obvious that the side of good needs to stand up. The war starts because of a lack of judgment by the side of the good. We all are trying to do good. We're all trying to make wise decisions. But the wars that unfold in our lives, the wars that unfold in our hearts, the conflict, the agitation, the tragedy that unfolds within us, within our lives, this philosophy, Advaita Vedanta, says, you are the author of your fortune. You are the author of your misfortune. You are not a victim. Yudhishthira is not a victim. He causes it. He is able to recover, and we all are. So often we can be the authors of fortune on the other side of what feels like misfortune. But he does cause the entire war. The entire Mahabharata starts because he gambles everything away in a moment, in a brief lack of judgment. This also symbolically emphasizes that we shouldn't gamble. I'm not saying don't look at the craps table when you're walking through a lobby in Vegas. Throw $50 on red. Do it for me. I don't care. That would be roulette. That shows you how little I gamble. Walk by the roulette table, throw $50 on red, shoot me a DM on how it plays out. Keep it all if you win, and also lose it all if you lose. But do that. I'm not saying don't have fun with a game of blackjack. That can be entertainment. And that could be less expensive than going to Disneyland for 5 hours. But do it with an amount that is so small, that is so inconsequential, that it isn't gambling. It's not saying, this whole business is doing well, but I think I'm gonna double, triple, quadruple down, get ahead of my skis, and I'm gonna risk it all, and therefore also risk my livelihood with kids at home. This philosophy cautions against that kind of gambling, where you are putting the kingdom at risk, where you are putting the rhythm you have in life the lives that lean on you for guidance when you put that at risk. Have fun if you want to make a bet. Throw 50 bones on red. Have fun if you want to play a game. But this philosophy cautions us against gambling, because so often we have no idea just how bad we can lose. That is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.